Pushing the baking tray with pie, an elderly woman stretched out her hands with a towel and looked around the kitchen. Perhaps, the arrival of a beloved grandson. All is ready. Under the form and steaks are languishing in a deep salad bowl, prepared for Caesar salad. Pie with a red fish will arrive soon. Maybe it's time to get the butter from, let it be a little softer, and what is more convenient. Poe's apartment floated a trill doorbell. Mr. Murphy, I'm in a hurry from the door. Hello, B. A handsome young man entered the hallway and began to pull off his shoes one by one. He casually kissed his grandmother's cheek and rubbed his hands. A devour eat go hungry like a wolf. Mother is weird again. Arranged me educational process. Understand, Mr. Murphy raised her neatly plucked and tinted eyebrow at the condemning. Lung in his repertoire. I don't eat, Iter is there. Passing the dining room, I will bring everything. Iter immediately slipped past the grandmother, sat down at a large oak table and began to shift the cutlery while waiting for dinner. Mr. Murphy axis. Panel neatly arranged from the plate, posted. Stands for the salad rule. Pushed closer to her grandson a vase of juice and a butter dish. You eat, Iter, including your favorite salmon pie. I'll leave for now, I need to call. Woman gently stroked the guy on the head and left the dining room. The man nodded in satisfaction. Want mothers will arrange a dressing, maybe brains fall into place. Mr. Murphy axis panel, meanwhile, with hands shaking with indignation, dialed the number of her daughter. At home wearily answered, that you can't even start, only pleasure is removed, the question is settled. Do you hear yourself in general? With a strong voice inquired Mr. Murphy. You starve your own child, you have a shred of conscience. This you ask me about conscience, daughter exploded. To a person of 27 years, we gave him the best education, a great start, and bought an apartment and a car. Where is it all? We didn't work for a day, all, what happened, squandered and returned to us with his father. Sat down, hung around the neck and legs. Ask him about it, not a bowl of soup and a subway pass. You. No, Lee, boy, learn from his own mistakes. He has an inquisitive mind, he will go far, and you kill all his undertakings in the bud. I cut off Mr. Murphy. You, and your hubby only think about himself. Here, let him with his inquisitive mind and go far to work, and earn his own living. Not 45. Mother, I turned inside out for him at one time, to give the best. Yes, not in horse food. I actually have a daughter, about which you. Why you don't think at you all your life in your little bear, and he also wraps himself in ropes and sucks money. If you disown your own son, when he stays with me, I will not leave my grandson in trouble. Yes, in what trouble, mother? I am phenomenon of wireless. You and weeks with them, and you will live. You will have a nervous breakdown. This my grandson, I must help him, since the parents were worse than the adoptive ones. Mr. Murphy, a rash. She was almost screaming. A worse in waiting room's Tackham case. Mother, don't count on our Leshy help. Communal, I will continue to pay you, and the driver will transfer the products to you. 1. Without caviar and sturgeon already beautiful. Otherwise you want to keep an overgrown slacker flag in hand. On your pension and turn around. Daughter did not remain in debt, and also raised her voice. About, mother reproached with a piece of bread. I raised a wonderful person, just beautiful. Voice Mr. Murphy and tremble with indignation. Already such as there is. Daughter hung up. Woman looked in surprise at the silent phone. Earlier fork didn't allow myself to. Something brand new. Lily hung up the phone, like it wasn't a phone, and a poisonous snake. Hands trembled, heart was pounding. More never in her life had she allowed herself to speak to her mother in such a tone. Despite of age, a Mr. Murphy they just turned 75, calling her an old woman and who wouldn't turn their tongues. High, stately, very well-groomed woman. How many Lily remembered me, she never lived up to her mother's high standards. My study was excellent, but not perfect, and graduated from the university with honors, but some knowledge is not visible. And married a beggar-rogue, but something from nothing as a student. He turned into a successful businessman, which, by the way, took the mother-in-law to the fullest. But when Les was born, heart ice queens melted once and for all. Only his smile alone could soothe Mr. Murphy in vain, and save the family from another thinly veiled derogatory statement. Subsequent birth of youngest granddaughter Joel did not evoke any special emotions. Once majestic grandmother a year even varnishers, a birthday present officially kissed the girl on the cheek and, for the sake of formality, was interested in all the attention and love with the child's affairs. Tired smileys. We see in Mr. Murphy some kind of limit on warm feelings was originally laid down, and all of it was instantly exhausted. Nabucco or mother was a little afraid, but always respected. That was, certainly, demanding and meticulous, but in its own way it even helped in later life. This is not a healthy stormy love for the grandson, it just really interfered, above all raising a boy. Cost Iter complain, grandmother's parents somehow unfolded military operations in the literal sense of the word. Boy special. He is gifted, with a fine, vulnerable soul and inexhaustible fantasy. Parents rough lumberjacks, cut off the whole potential of a brilliant grandson in the bud. In general, author's parents. Lily and Peter have been in conflict for many years. Die-hard mother-in-law Mr. Murphy, certainly the same. Now Lily blamed herself, that did not defend the family. What a mix, the consumer has grown, that now you have to reap the fruits of your own weakness. Iter graduated from a great university, choose your specialty, based on current realities. As he said, received a marketing, and at the same time, as a gift for graduating from a university, a good 2-room apartment and a brand new car, sunset sale, which ended 2 years later. Cherry returned to the parental home without property, but with a bunch of closed loans. Boy looking for myself. His framed. He could not recognize the villains, because I'm too pure, Grandma explained. Lost apartment and cargo and got loans, to win back, reconnaissance but situations, summed up the husband. Loan's son Peter closed, but set. A condition, you all live in the house from now on according to the rules of your parents. Want live here, get a normal job and contribute. Then in Iter the first tantrum happened. He was not made to work for his uncle. He not going to ruin his life. Seedy in a stuffy office among mediocrity and mediocrity. Peter offered his son a job as a janitor, since the stuffy office scares him so much. After this split, grandmother showed up in the house. How not ashamed to persecute native blood, well, make you plow, house slave of a galley. If there is not enough money to feed little Cherry, then the grandmother will personally come and cook for her grandchildren. Lily took ice out of the freezer and wrapped it in a towel. All this mess of the forest for almost a year to Peter. Arranged had a son in his organization, but the guy showed up at work exactly twice a month, advance day and pay day. When he finally then issued a salary card, then stopped coming. From time to time Peter did not report Iter's behavior. Thinks that the son of the general director is simply listed and the visible one should not work. But my father found out about everything. Cherry Peter was fired with a bang, washed his hands and said that he won't lift a finger for his son anymore. Feed nobody owes you. Get a job or move out. My husband cut off a week ago and went on a business trip. Alleles left on the battlefield. Peter demanded from his wife and daughter not to buy any food for home, eat at the catering. Another way out is to push hard, at least some activity I don't see, husband said. I hear, please, not even a few days have passed, how Iter escaped, opened a dacha about grandma you, thought Lily, applying ice towels to the forehead. Let's see, how long will you last? Mother Mr. Murphy enjoyed the company. She gladly set the table for breakfast, lunch and dinner, discussed with Iter books and films, interested in his plans for the future. Nephew turned, delicious ate, slept sweetly and indulgence bore conversations with grandmother. Questions about the future he did not really like, he preferred to live in the present. First thunderstruck, when Mr. Murphy did not get the standard monthly amount from the daughter to the card. Bring up got me thinking. The woman was indignant, and immediately dialed the line number. Subscriber unresponsive or temporarily unavailable, announced an automatic voice. And the same story happened with the number take and even with the phone of the youngest granddaughter. Mr. Murphy became thoughtful, she didn't believe that the daughter could carry out her threat. However, this disbelief melted literally the next day, when he came to. Children take and brought food. Woman haughtily nodded to the driver for the one carrying the packages and, barely waiting until he left, rushed to sort out provisions. Hands Mr. Murphy. Anna trembles with indignation. She again tried to recruit a daughter. At this time Ance picked up the phone and sang in an unctuous voice, "Hello, Mommy. You decided, what is funny?" Ice cold mother inquired by voice. "What exactly, Mommy?" Communal. "I have paid, sent a driver with groceries. If required, medicines or doctors. Only tell, Peter takes care of everything." My daughter's voice was sweeter than honey. Mr. Murphy gritted her teeth. "Do you think that you can put me on a starvation ration?" Woman pulled out a piece of lean beef from the packages. "Either this not by one tooth, chicken some spawning. He is not a chicken. You know, Lily, not fish, not caviar, not normal meat. This is a diet for a man. I didn't plan. Provide diet man products for you, like a sprout. What you are eating, what not. So Mom, I'm busy. If something will be needed, write or call. A kiss now." I ran. Lena passed out of the bedroom and, scratching her bare belly, sleepy Ida came out. "Grandma, what's for breakfast?" yawning, inquired the grandson. 3 noon. Which breakfast unexpectedly for herself, the grandmother snapped, but later changed, from, "He has dinner soon." "Ida, go wash your face." By 2 days a week's supply of food per pensioner came to an end. "What are you going through, grandmothers?" "We will live. Let's drive to the store, just a card to the Easy Rider, Maria." Grandmother obediently gave the card to her grandson. After a while the phone, "Mr. Murphy went too far. Purchase in the store." For the amount, a woman was reading, feeling that the eyes are on the forehead. "And less. You wear, a then brood." Grandmother was indignant when the grandson came home with packages. "I have 300 rubles left on the card." How were confused Guy. "Parents always shop there." "Well, why are you hurting your mother anyway?" "Sends bundles of money. We will not live. What your mother deprived me of allowance, Ida. Now we both have to live on my pension," hissed Mr. Murphy. "Maybe you can try to find a part-time job." "You are there," squinted Ida. "All of you just to drive me into a cage. Not will come out." "Well, what you, Ida?" I got scared. "Mr. Murphy, you're a wall." Who didn't want to look? The eyes from the grandson are the same, like his parents. "I am just arguing. How can we live on, and what will I think? Woman, and not afraid, they'll come up with something for sure." Lily looked at the calendar again. "And Plant, whatever mother, not less, hasn't shown up in over a week." Tio, at this point, their resources should already have come to an end. Visenka loves delicious food. A mom never knew how to save, that's why Lily was sure. Mother definitely doesn't have any savings for a rainy day. "Certainly, sorry, I was worried about my mother and son, but the situation has reached its peak. Way of life, Ida, something had to be done." All ideas, certainly, belonged to Peter, but also Olivia understood that there is no other way. However, anxiety didn't go away. Woman, a little hesitant, nevertheless decided to visit her mother's house and observe. Now, just earlier in the morning. If Ida got a job, she wouldn't let him go. Lily parked across the street from home Mr. Murphy and prepared for a long wait. Looking on both sides, she witnessed a strange scene. A hunched old woman came out of a nearby store, dragging a battered bag on wheels, from which protruded onion feathers. A young man came out to hold the door, loaded with packages. An old lady stopped and rummaged in his pocket, fishing for a bunch of keys. Together a handkerchief fell out with the keys, with which there was something wrapped. Not noticing losses, the granny sharply started forward and instantly disappeared around the corner of the house. Boy with packages, seeing a fallen handkerchief, picked it up and tried to catch up with the old woman, but then the trace caught a cold. He indecision stamped on the spot and unfolded. Cotton. Inside money was lying. From the car windows Lily didn't see how much, but obviously a little. The man looked around. I obviously didn't understand what to do next. Taken on. From around the corner the same old woman with a cart appeared again. "Need police escort." Came out from the shop. No money, she wailed. There the whole pension is 20,000. This all, what I have. I know, now the camera is everywhere. Let's watch on cameras who stole. Police officer friend nodded importantly. Old woman slowed down, seeing a young man with a handkerchief in his hands. So here she took to poke her finger in a dumbfounded. Guys, my handkerchief and money beat mine. Ori continued to watch, like many passers-by. Situation developed rapidly. Young the man began to explain to the policeman that he picked up a handkerchief dropped by Grandma, but she already ran away very briskly for her age, summed up the guy, handing out a bundle of money to Granny's. Well, what, citizen, issue resolved, clarified the policeman. Old woman meanwhile fiddled. There is not enough money, she screamed. Was 20,000 and small bills. Only small things left. Cashy is not ashamed, how the earth wears, all my pension, cried old woman Elena. As she saw the eye, the guy didn't take anything. Meanwhile, from the crowd of onlookers, shouts began, shameless robbed a pensioner and stuff like that. Boy blushed deeply. He began to haltingly explain to the policeman that took nothing, but then severely interrupted the speaker. Citizen, if you don't agree, returned the stolen woman, then we will continue the conversation in the precinct. He pointed to cameras on store doors. On records are visible. How did you raise the money? Yes, but I picked them up and returned them almost immediately. Means, let's go to the office. Crowd buzzed approvingly, and the guy looked angrily at the old woman. I fell asleep and reached into the inside pocket of his jacket. He got the port. I counted 20,000 to my mother and nodded with satisfaction. I think it would be right away. Well, son, I will go. She turned to the police. To me, never walk around the office. Lily was outraged. She was about to get out of the car and stand up for cheating on a guy, but suddenly froze. She looked closely and gasped. Getting out of the car, I quickly caught up with the guy and asked him for a phone number, briefly explaining the reason. Then returned to the car and dialed her husband's number. In the evening, Lily called Mother. Hello, Mommy. How is your laughter? Indeed, she asked innocently. Fine, works for us, coldly answered Mr. Murphy. I, without your Leshkoe pressure, blossomed. He was already looking for himself and started earning money. Seriously, Lily was amazed. Here is this lady. Well, so you were right, you either will be better, but good luck to you. I ran. Lily hung up and frowned. Peter walked up to his wife and put his arm around her shoulders. Leal, but our fault is obvious. Necessary was to immediately cut off this unhealthy relationship. But installations, education. When I get away, grandmother, same native, wishes me well. What now? Sprinkle ashes on your head. Necessary, what do something. On the next day in the morning to the house, Mr. Murphy drove up an inconspicuous, beaming machine. When there was an entrance, an old woman came out with a bag on wheels and went about her business. Automobiles slowly and carefully followed her. Old lady meanwhile got on the tram. Passed a few blocks and an expensive product, exited a supermarket. She went inside, came out after a while. At this time a head of cabbage was sticking out of the cart, Granny's from New Healthy Feed by the Keys, although it was unclear why they got the keys a few streets from the house. Again, a long-suffering handkerchief fell out on the sidewalk, and the old woman ran at full speed to the nearest doorway. Walking following the old woman, the guy grunted and picked up the bundle. Someone and from the people waiting at the bus stop drew attention to the manner of the young man. Twisting handkerchief in hand, he got money out of there, put it in pocket. And everyone's handkerchief blew his nose loudly. Yawning, fainted. Young human, what are you doing? Some woman got angry. This is not yours. For what you took. Boy ignored statements, disgustedly sent handkerchief persimmon. How once at that moment a grandmother appeared from around the corner, accompanied by the same policeman, yesterday's policeman. Yes, I'm sure I dropped it here, when I got the keys, lamented the old woman. She turned to onlookers on stop. You did not see such a white handkerchief here, there my entire pension was. The old woman was really miserable. She with unhappy eyes peered into the crowd and fiddled with the hand of her old stepson. Yes, that boy took. Woman, Earlier guys who came pointed at him and shook his head condemningly. Money took, and threw away the scarf. That didn't even look in the direction of the branch. That's why I stared at the policeman with interest. That somehow faded, however. He quickly pulled himself together and blurted out, "Young human, you took the money, which the citizen dropped, and they me," the guy said boldly. You can see your documents." Police officers began to pull out his ID card from his pocket. He opened the crust, amount, and his tray. "Guys, it has already been removed by a citizen." Here the woman says, "What did you take?" "The faithful ones in a good way, otherwise you will have to select." "I understand, I will continue." Law enforcement officer. I don't mind separating." "Take a walk, let's go," the guy grinned. The old lady got nervous. I don't have time to go to the office, rather I'm retired and glad." Police officers also for some reason did not burn with the desire to detain the obvious criminal. He continued mumbling something about conscience, refund. The boy was obviously bored. "Cold Iter, you got a mustache," ending the clowning, finally said the young man and showed the policeman some crusts. Old lady again became worried and began to block the sad policeman. "Mr. Murphy, you same, please stop the show. Let's go, not far from here." In front of the astonished public, a guy under the elbow of a policeman paveled somewhere, and the old woman, throwing up his chin and suddenly becoming a head taller, followed, leaving your cabbage cart in the middle of the sidewalk. Leisha, hanging your head, sat at the table with the investigator. The rest of the family crowded in the corridor. "Stunning, mother, just awesome." Lily spoke in a loud whisper. This is how the boy found himself. He started making money. Make the gang their own grandmother. Fake documents, robbery in broad daylight. Where you still took this police uniform fine, at least it turned out that you only cheated that guy one. I immediately returned it. If you were really covered, if there were more victims. Mr. Murphy lifted her chin, buffs and habitually contemptuous for the voice, but suddenly the old woman's shoulders sank, and she wept bitterly. I thought, what are you bullying him about, that he is creative, vulnerable, and in one day he lowered my entire pension, and you left me. She was offended. She looked up at her daughter. Deprived money and products were brought from Gulkin's nose. Then he came to me with this brilliant idea of his, a lot. I will be able to show my acting talents, and we will earn money together, and punish those who are ready to rob a poor pensioner. Lily stared at the mass. Mother, why are you being a fool? Then you didn't understand, it's just a money scam. Tell her honestly, that she did not want to admit her mistake. Not hotel, barely audibly answered Mr. Murphy and turned away. What but now it will? Peter played with his jaws. What will tell? Thank you, expensive Mr. Murphy, that Lily, despite all your quirks, still worried about you. If she would not go to your house, then I don't know how it would all end. Thank you, bored. There was a woman with Iter, what Iter time to testify. Young human, who threw away the handkerchief, carefully wrote them down and asked clarifying questions. Finally, when it's all over, the guy came out and told the family, Night, sit in a cell, and meet you tomorrow. Hope will help. After leaving the department, Lily turned to Mother. More, come visit us today. Tomorrow Iter's in third place, and it will be released tomorrow. A surprised woman, who already had tears in her eyes, will release. Peter soothing pat the mother-in-law on the hand. On the next day the whole family gathered in the house, Peter and Lily, and youngest daughter Joel setting the table. Mr. Murphy looked at her granddaughter with interest. Now, when the pink veil fell from the eyes, behind which she saw only her beloved grandson, she felt sad that the youngest granddaughter based with. Somehow behind the scenes, grandmother did not see her first steps and first words. She couldn't remember which Joel was in childhood, adolescence. Now before Mr. Murphy stood a young beautiful girl. She is for this girl someone else's aunt. Grandmother's jokes. The woman sighed. Visenko will be in 2 minutes. Peter took him, informing those present. Iter entered the house with a beaten dog, shoulders down, looking at the floor. Was. His tail would definitely be tucked up here. Only given the shower and for a chair. Sat down. and shoved a bath towel into her son's hands, and pushed him to the side of the bathroom. Returned from the refreshed Soliter sat down at the table. He avoided eye contact with Grandma, yes, with the rest of the family too. We have announced events, or we are getting to know someone, who is interested. Mr. Murphy, fiancé Joel. Meet, this is Igor. The same investigator entered the room, that neutralized the gang niches and Mr. Murphy. Grandmother and the grandson instantly blushed. Young meanwhile, the man greeted everyone present and sat down at the table. Family took her parents for dinner and grandmother took turns asking Igor questions, and his work is dear and a hobby. History, no one mentioned cheating. One Ida sat with an unhappy face, and even his favorite game did not arouse his appetite. Finally Ida quietly got up and went out to the veranda. He leaned on the railing and thought about something. Followed by Igor. I don't worry, interpreting Nisha's sadness in his own way, said the guy. The cases did not bring on themselves. Your mom asked me to do it all, so that you at least come to your senses and take up. I'm sorry, I'm not worried about it, answered the young man and looked at the future relative. I lay in the cell all night without sleep, everyone thought and thought. I thought to my family. I have never done this before. They were always taken for granted. Caught there, I suddenly realized that I have no one but them. He looked at Igor unhappy eyes. If I don't want to go to jail means don't do that, what will you regret? He patted them on the shoulder. Idiot! House. There your grandmother is going to sing romances. Romances surprised Les. I did not know what she was singing. Well, you seems like a lot to learn about your family.